Fantasy football podcast called Living the Stream comes to you each week. Streaming recommendations during NFL season, it's not just tongue-in-cheek. Quarterback, defense, tight end recommendations based on opposition matchup. Here are your podcast hosts, JJ Zachariason and Denny Carter, living the stream.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Living the Stream. I'm JJ Zachariason, the late round quarterback, and as always, I am joined by my lovely new-haired co-host, Denny Carter. Denny, what's going on, brother?
You caught me at the beginning of the show here. I was playing air drums to our song.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time I think that we've ever done a show and listened to the intro together before the show started, right?
Yeah, no, it's a totally new experience, and I love this whole setup. I appreciate JJ putting it together because, man, it looks professional. I feel professional. This is a no frills podcast. We're talking football and only football going forward.
Yeah, and for anyone who has no idea what Denny's talking about, we are live right now, and moving forward, we will be live on the late round fantasy. Wow, that was bad. We're live, so I can't cut that out. So this is just going to keep going. We're live in the late round fantasy football YouTube channel. We're going to be live all season long. We still have our Patreon. We're still giving our picks out there. We'll still help folks out through that Patreon. But this show is going to be live streamed now, and it's a totally different experience. So we've been doing this via video for years and years, you and I, and we did the live stream stuff last year for patrons, but it's a different experience because as we're talking and as this is going on, there are people consistently commenting, and it's just a very, very different experience for us.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of comments. I'm gonna have to not look at them because I'm gonna be tilted out of my mind. But this is great. I'm glad we're live streaming. I forgot that people listen to this on podcasts, so I'm sorry for my beginning of show rant about professional setup and everything. You have no idea what I'm talking about. Thank you to JJ for stepping in and helping you better understand what's going on.
You're just saying that they need to come check it out. They need to see what this whole setup is all about, and they need to see your glorious hair. One of the questions that we got this week, and one of the questions I'm sure that you've gotten a lot, is what made you change your hair? Because your hair is a very, very big piece, not only to you in your everyday life and how you probably feel, but the brand. I mean, it's an important piece of the brand.
Yeah. So I do think it's important to change one's hair situation once every quarter century. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I've had the same exact hairstyle since I was like 16 years old. So we're trying something a little different. It's very long, actually. You actually can't believe how long it is on top. And and we are taking the scaffolding out, right? In the front, the scaffolding that used to hold everything up, that's now gone. And I'm just relaxed, folks. I'm relaxed. I feel like a West Coaster here. I'm just so relaxed.
Does it take longer to do the hair now or the old hair?
Oh no, the old hair. I mean, now, I blow dry it. I'm not afraid to say it. I blow dry it. It's a lot of hair. So I blow dry it, put a little product in it, and I leave the bathroom. The other one, I was in there for, 10 minutes doing my hair. Too much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my hair is so out of control right now. I'm just wearing a hat. I just said, screw it. I'm not we saw each other, by the way, folks. Denny and I saw each other for the first time in probably 6 years.
Yes.
At the Fantasy Football Expo in August. And it was great. It was awesome to finally catch up and not do so via DM and text and the podcast.
Yeah. No, it was surreal. The expo is always a little surreal because you're seeing your online friends for the one time a year, really. We saw Rich Rebar. I don't want to leave out anybody, so I'll just leave it.
We saw Rich.
And that was really cool. I think that we can commit to not wait 6 more years to do that again.
Yeah, well, I'll be going to the expo every year at this point. I think that folks, even if you're not a content creator and just a fan of the fantasy football space, you can get something out of the expo. I mean, it's a good time. Get to just talk fantasy football with people. It's always nice when there's an obvious default conversation to talk about and topic to talk about, in situations like that where if you don't know what to say, you can just say like, you just talk about that you like Christian Watson this year, and then everything's fine.
Talk about Sam Howell for 15 minutes. I do have to say, JJ, taking pictures with you and Rich and Matt Harmon and Andy Behrens and other tall people in the industry made me pretty self-conscious. I found myself on my tippy toes for about half of that trip. I mean, just desperately trying to get up to like maybe like 6 foot ish, because you guys are towering over me.
But it's crazy because everyone is so like, the fantasy football industry, folks in the fantasy industry are way taller than you would imagine.
Yeah.
A lot of them are just tall. Like Harmon is probably 6'2" ish. I'm 6'1". I don't even consider myself like tall per se, but I guess I'm taller than the average person. Rich is like 6'2". Barron's tall, and we didn't even have John Paulson there, who's like 6,000. I mean, that guy is just towers over everyone. I mean, it's a tall industry. And I remember I was
it's a tall industry.
I was at the FSGA conference in Cleveland. I had the luxury of actually going to Northern Ohio twice this summer.
You did?
I'm just such a lucky and blessed human to be able to go to Cleveland and Canton. So I went to Cleveland for the FSGA because I was doing a little panel. And I was talking to Andrew Cooper and Scott Fish, 2 folks in the industry, and they're both just like 6'3" and 6'5". Like they're just, I feel it's the only place on planet Earth that I've ever felt short is a fantasy football conference.
I know. And listen, you're over 6 feet. I'm 5'10". I'm considered a short king out there. Zach Kruger, my buddy from NBC, we actually rode down to the expo together. Zach Kruger's like, I don't know, 6'2" at least, maybe 6'3". There was somebody else who, Big Dog, Evan Silva wasn't even there. And
Evan Silva's not there either. Yeah. Silva towers over people too.
Yeah, he's 7 feet tall.
Yeah. So that was great. We've had a lot going on this offseason. I have a new child in my family, which, obviously is the second most important thing behind your hair that's happened this offseason. My wife and I adopted a baby boy, and he's now he's still a baby, but he's like 8.5 months old, which is crazy because we met him at 6 weeks old. So that's the chunk of time that we have not been doing the show is basically all of CJ's life.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. Well, thankfully he gets to watch his first Living the Stream,
Right. He doesn't know a world where Living the Stream was not live.
He doesn't. And that's tragic, honestly. I had to say, I saw a picture of CJ recently, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago. And I was thinking, who's that? Because that can't be the baby, right? I mean, maybe you can't grow that fast, but they do.
Yeah, I think that he might end up being a short king. I shouldn't say as well because you're not a short king, but he might. He's just on the smaller side. He's finally beefing up a little bit. Like with eats purees. He's starting to do more solid, like real solids and stuff like that. And that's what I remember. Like with Avery, she was like really, really not. I don't want to say frail because it makes it sound like we weren't feeding her, but she was just a very, very tiny baby, right? And then when 6 months hit, she just ballooned, and then she became the chunky baby that had the giant belly, and like low center of gravity, could walk when she was 10 months old, probably because of that, and that's really what I remember taking a slow-mo video of her jumping for the first time, and it was just her legs, and it was this really slow jump, and then it fell, and you could just see all the jiggling going on.
Oh, that's great.
The leg.
I love a fat little baby. Same thing happened with my daughter. She was super, super tiny. And then she just ballooned, and she was the cutest baby. Like so many rolls all of a sudden. I will say with Avery, man, I lost my train of thought. Shoot! All right, go on to the next topic.
My daughter's now in kindergarten, which is also when speaking of the passage of time. It is. I saw you posted something on Facebook of like the passage of time too, because you were reminiscing about Xavier going to kindergarten himself, right?
Yeah.
And that was like 6 years ago at this point, or 5 years ago. And it's bizarre. We started this show basically when he was born, like around that exact same time. I remember the first episode was like, I said, you're a new father or something like that. Or
that's
one of the first episodes.
Yeah.
And now I have a kid in kindergarten. I have a second child who doesn't allow me to get that much sleep. And that's something that I'll never miss is the lack of sleep. with infants and babies.
That is very difficult to manage. I mean, for for mom, sure, definitely, and obviously that trickles down to dad as well. But man, yeah, I'm so glad that I don't have to deal with that. Sorry that you're having to deal with that.
Yeah, no, look, and I'll say this, the adoption experience, obviously totally different than what the experience was when Avery was born.
Right.
Different in a great way, different in more difficult ways, what have you. But not having a wife who's postpartum in some way is insanely, that's just different. Like before it was, it's, my wife had a C-section and then, but like, it's just totally different. So that's a new experience. It was a new experience. I mean, we're 8.5 months in now, so it's a little bit different. But.
I mean, and you could just say, "Hey, you take care of them. You didn't even have."
Yeah, you get up there. I've been doing enough. Come on, you go feed the child.
And then you're kicked out. And then you can play DFS behind the Arby's dumpster, like I did.
And then I can sleep all I want after I'm kicked out. That's really the move. Just get kicked out of the house and not be a father anymore, and then you can just sleep all you want.
Yeah. And in your car, it's great.
Exactly. Well, we don't have any streamers to go over from last week because Denny, this is week 1. We don't have we don't have a last week. But we do have streamers that we're going to give to you guys every single week. Quarterback, defense, tight end recommendations based on opposition matchup, as the intro to the podcast says. So let's kick things off, Denny. Let's go. Actually, I'm going to kick things off because I have 2 of the 3 quarterbacks that we'll be talking about today.
Yeah.
I'm going to start the season off, this streaming season, with a guy who I think has a chance to graduate this year. A chance.
Okay.
And that's Sam Howell.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that we see him sort of in that Tyrod Taylor way that we saw, back in like 2015 or whatever it was. But Sam Howell, you get Washington getting Arizona. They're big 7-point favorites. They have the 14th best implied team total on the weekend, which is pretty strong. It's better than average given every single team's playing this weekend.
Sure.
Howell looked really good in the preseason. The weapons are there, and he has the mobility, which is the number one reason why you should be caring about him. I mean, he's probably a decent guy. I shouldn't say that. I should, you should care about him because he's probably a decent human being. But with Sam Howell, last year, final week of the season, he gets the start against Dallas. He goes for 535 and 1 on the ground. That's an extension of what we saw with Sam Howell at Carolina, where he ran the ball over 800 yards, his final collegiate season there. He's got the athletic profile and sort of that like aggressiveness, with his play style to sort of get you a fair number of points on the ground. Cardinals secondary, according to PFF, entering the season ranks 29th, according to their rankings. So good matchup, decent implied team total. We know the rushing upsides there. The weapons are there. This is a decent spot for Sam Howell.
2 things about Sam Howell. One, first thing I ever heard about Sam Howell coming out of North Carolina was that he only eats chicken tenders. Do you remember this? Yeah.
I vaguely do, but I feel like it's just overshadowed by anything Will Levis and Mayo and
right. Will Levis is super weird, obviously, with his food choices. But apparently Sam Howell, when he went to dinner with his teammates at North Carolina, he would order chicken tenders from another restaurant and bring them into the restaurant to eat them.
Wow.
I'm sorry, that would have been a red flag for me. You have the palate of a 6-year-old. I can't draft you, but obviously he still could be good.
Probably go to like a Bojangles or a Zaxby's, man, and just getting some quick fried chicken to bring over and chicken tenders to bring over to some like a Ruth's Chris. I don't know, where do these like higher end college football players eat?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know why he had to go to those great lengths. Another thing about Sam Howell is Ron Rivera apparently didn't really know about Sam Howell last year, and he's been complaining about it reportedly, saying, "Why didn't anyone tell me this kid's good?" And I'm like,
which is horrifically upsetting and stupid.
Ron, you gotta get with it, man. You gotta. I mean, the only reason Howell started Week 18 last year was because Taylor Heineke bowed out. He said, "Please start the kid. Our season's over. You don't want to start me again." And Rivera's like, "Who? Who are you talking about? Oh, Howell? Yeah, sure, whatever." I mean, come on, man. You can't admit that. You can't admit that you didn't know who your third string quarterback was.
Right. All right. Who is your quarterback pick?
Yes, let's move on to Jordan Love. I've been, I guess, somewhat bullish on Jordan Love, and I feel like his preseason could have been way worse. It was he had a 67% completion rate, 7.2 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and importantly, according to Pro Football Focus, 0 turnover-worthy plays on his 20-plus dropbacks for the Packers this preseason. I really don't see him as like a guy who could be like Hal and break into an every week starter status. I don't really see that for Love, but I think that he could be like a really good QB2 in Superflex. I think if you're really hard up in a 14-team league, you could do worse than Love, which is what we do here, folks. For those who are not familiar, we give you plays where you could do worse than Jordan Love.
I would do anything for Love, but I won't do that.
You won't stream them.
I won't do that. All right. Last quarterback this week, Baker Mayfield. I would rather go Sam Howell or Jordan Love than Baker. I think you would agree. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Tampa Bay, they only have a 19.25 point implied team total. That's according to FanDuel Sportsbook. Bottom 5 on the weekend. But Minnesota secondary is not very good. And so it's a matchup to potentially exploit. The Minnesota offense is good. They could have to keep pace a little bit, throw the ball more than expected. The Buccaneers offense is going to go from being extremely pass heavy. I'm talking like first in the league last year. Like with Tom Brady, they were first, and third in pass rate. And they averaged over the last 2 years over 740 pass attempts per season. And so I actually have my 10 trends episode that's dropping tomorrow is talking about this a little bit and how Tampa Bay's offense is probably going to see a drop of like 160, 170 pass attempts, like realistically, from Tom Brady to this offense. That's if they were to just rank middle of the road in pass attempts this season, which I think is probably reasonable given that they probably want to be a little bit run heavy, but game script might dictate otherwise. And so we're going to see a much different offense, I think, with Baker Mayfield. But with that being said, good matchup on paper. You have decent weapons with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I think that maybe you could do worse, but I have a hard time believing that in week 1 in a single quarterback league, you're really going to go and start Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, that's in no league is that happening. But Superflex, Baker's looking pretty decent. I'll say especially if you flew too close to the sun and ended up in a bad QB2 situation in Superflex, you're looking at Baker pretty strongly right now.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to tight end, Denny. Who do you got?
I have Luke Q. Musgrave III, rookie for the Packers. For those who don't know, I know we've talked about and read about Luke Musgrave for months and months now. The normies, and God bless you because you have normal lives. You're well-adjusted people. You're not studying fantasy football 6 months, 8 months out of the year. Luke Musgrave is going to be a thing in fantasy. He's been running with the first team Green Bay offense since OTAs. He basically has no competition in the route running, pass catching role in tight end for the Packers in the Packers offense. He's somewhat of an athletic freak, which we like. We don't hate that. And honestly, outside of Christian Watson, I know Dobbs is banged up, and you got your guy Jaden Reed. Beyond that, I don't really know who's going to get the targets here. So it should be a pretty good environment for Musgrave in week 1. And, he could be turned into something if things break right for him.
Yeah, look, Musgrave, I have this tight end model that I always say is in beta mode. Obviously there's no alpha going on this podcast or with us. Everything we do is in beta mode.
I was going to say I'm always in beta mode. So.
So this tight end model is sort of still in beta mode where, I haven't really published it, but I published some results. I'm just not like saying this is the tight end model that I'm basing everything off of. But in this draft class, 3 guys ranked above the 90th percentile, which is only 14 tight ends have done that since 2015, which is what the model dates back to. Kincaid, Laporta were both there, and then Musgrave actually ranked higher than Michael Mayer in the model.
Really?
So I'm intrigued by Musgrave. I know a lot of people don't want to look to rookie tight ends because they're not very good in fantasy football, which is not wrong. but a lot of rookie tight ends just don't run that many routes. And this is a scenario and situation. I think all three of those tight ends with Kincaid, Laporta, and Musgrave, they're all kind of in store to run a lot of routes this year, which we can't always say about these rookie tight ends. So I'm into Musgrave. I think that, in a pinch, you could play him this week. I know it's a little bit scary because, we haven't seen anything from him at the NFL level. But, if Romeo Doubs is out in particular, because he's not trending necessarily like well, but if he's out, let's say, I think Musgrave is like a decent option. Like he might be like a very, very high end tight end too, even, from like a rankings perspective. So definitely keep an eye on him. I like Jake Ferguson. I think that Ferguson's someone who I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being sort of like a low end tight end too, or tight end one, let's say. What are you laughing at, Denny? What's going on? You're reading the comments already. You said that you weren't going to do that.
I was. I'm sorry. We have a viewer named Index of Suspicion who said calls him Turd Ferguson, which is from an SNL sketch, a Will Ferrell SNL sketch from a long time ago. Man, that just got me. And I'm not going to be able to see Jake Ferguson without saying Turd Ferguson.
Yeah, all right. So it's Turd Ferguson against the Giants. So Jake Ferguson has grown on me a lot. Sorry, Turd Ferguson has grown on me a lot over the last handful of weeks and months. Almost 90 rookie tight ends since 2011 have run 100 or more routes. Ferguson was top 10 in yards per route run and targets per route run among that group of about 90 rookie tight ends. We should be looking for second and third year tight ends to break out. That's what he is. There's no Dalton Schultz in this offense anymore. He is the tight end one in the offense. The Giants were a pretty favorable matchup last year for tight ends. The Cowboys have a really good implied team total. I think that Ferguson could end up just being a decent every week type starter this season. And then, this week, I think he's in a pretty good spot on a team that should score a decent number of points.
Turd, don't let us down, please.
Don't let us down, Turd.
All right. I have Hunter Henry, who I know Mike Gesicki, whatever. I actually can't wait for Bill Belichick to just pull the plug on the Gesicki experiment. Like the second that Gesicki like refuses to block or like runs the wrong route, I feel like him and Belichick will not mix well. Hunter Henry should be out there quite a bit. Should be running a good number of routes against the Eagles in Week 1. Not necessarily a good tight end matchup, and but we can't have everything. The Patriots, I think, should be in a position where they have to drop back a little more than usual. Maybe that bumps up routes and targets for a guy like Henry. I will say real quick, Hunter Henry ran pretty bad last season. 2 touchdowns on 59 targets and didn't do anything with his red zone looks. I actually lost the stats here. I'm sorry, but ran bad. He was down bad last year. Hopefully we get a little bounce back. And he would figure Hunter Henry, I don't know about you, JJ, he would figure to be Mac Jones's primary like end zone target, big body guy. Let's do it.
Yeah, and Juju, I mean, I don't know if you heard, but Juju's about to combust on a football field, evidently.
What is with that report?
What a weird way to phrase a player's knee not being in good shape. That it's going to explode is what they used.
That is, I mean, was it Albert Breer?
I don't know. It's apocalyptic. I mean, they gotta realize that it's a strange way to describe a knee injury.
Yeah, I'm sure Juju loved hearing that.
Yeah. So, if Juju is banged up a little bit, that could also help Hunter Henry out in that offense. I'm going to Greg Dulcich. I don't know about you, Denny. Actually, I don't think I've talked to you about this. So Adam Troutman's gotten a lot of steam, over the last month because of what we saw in the preseason from the standpoint of usage. And he's Sean Payton's guy, which is also kind of BS to me because is he Sean Payton? Is it just because Sean Payton drafted him and then now he traded for him? I mean, that makes a guy your guy, whatever. Right. So Adam Troutman is picking up all this steam, if you will. and it's now pushed Greg Dulcich down draft boards. Dulcich went from being like a tight end 12, like the tight end 12 in drafts to, this past week, I got him at like tight end 22 in drafts, right? Are you a believer in the Troutman hype, or are you a believer that this is all BS and Dulcich maybe he should have dropped a little bit, but not nearly this much.
Yeah, so the Saints wanted Troutman to be a thing so badly. I remember reading multiple puff pieces last summer about like the team saying like you're gonna have to step up, Adam. You're gonna have to be the guy at tight end. And Juwan Johnson immediately became the tight end one in New Orleans.
Yeah,
Adam Troutman is probably a fine fellow and probably a really good blocker, but I don't think it impacts Dulcich a lot. I will say it probably impacts him like, snap wise, but I think Dulcich could still be used in that offense as a top 3 target.
Yeah, so you have Jerry Jeudy, who's banged up, as we know. I don't think he's going to go this week, but there has at least been some optimism around Jeudy, over the last week or so. But I have a hard time just like completely fading or like being worried about a guy like Adam Troutman when we have real evidence, solid evidence that Greg Dulcich is really good as just like a talent, right? Yeah. Last season, he ended up having the 3rd best target share per game rate of any rookie tight end since 2011, behind only Evan Ingram and Kyle Pitts. I've got that tight end model that I was talking about, and I have a year 2 model, which projects how well a guy's going to do in year 2 and year 3. He was in the 91st percentile in that model. And since 2016, Kyle Pitts, the only guys that are sort of ranked in that 90th percentile, Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, OJ Howard, TJ Hawkinson, Alberto, Hunter Henry, and David Njoku. Now, I know that Alberto, OJ Howard, definitely bust. Maybe Noah Fant, hasn't been like that productive. But that literally encompasses almost every single good tight end since during that period of time. Travis Kelce was drafted before that time. So I'm going to take my chances and say that Dulcich is talented enough to sort of earn this role. They get Vegas this week, beatable defense. Broncos have a 24-point implied team total. Jerry Jeudy probably isn't going to go. I would throw a dart at Dulcich. I think that he's not in a horrible spot. I know that there's some risk because they could trot Adam Troutman out there, but I'm going to lean talent over this perceived situation and the way that coaches are thinking.
Troutman's not happening. Sean Payton can want it all he wants, but Dulcich is far superior as a pass catcher for sure. Greg Dulcich is stepping into the Jimmy Graham role, and it's as if nobody cares. What's going on with that? Come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Joker role that they like to.
The Joker. That did make me a little nervous. I have to say, JJ, when I heard the Joker role, I thought, they don't know what to do with him, because that's kind of what coaches say. They're like,
it's like whenever like the Chiefs are saying like we're making plays specifically for Kadarius Toney or something like that, or like how back in the day it was Cordero Patterson, where these teams would have Patterson, and like Minnesota had Patterson, and they'd say, "Oh, we're designing plays specifically for Cordero Patterson." To me, that says this is not a good thing. But the Joker thing. He can just be moved everywhere is really that's all they're saying with that. It's not so much that they're like, making these specific plays necessarily for him, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's like lining up in the backfield sometimes and lining up, out wide and doing those sorts of things. And if that's the case, that's not bad from a tight end perspective, because as we know, tight ends aren't even out there on every play, or at least running routes on every play.
I remember Denard Robinson being labeled a Joker. So he was
just funny in the locker room, Denny.
I'm traumatized over that. Or psychotic Joker.
Yeah, or psychotic. Yeah, one of the two. All right, we got one more tight end. Why don't you give it to us?
Oh, yeah. Who is the tight end? I'm sorry. I lost track.
His name is Cade Otton.
Cade Otton.
Yeah, plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Plays for the Bucs. Yeah, I mean, look, Otton was out there a ton last year. He finished 6th in tight end pass routes last year, which is insane. I don't know, really crazy. Here's the thing about Otton. He doesn't command targets at all. He had a 16% target per route run share, so that's not good. But outside of Godwin and Evans, wait a second. I'm forgetting that it's Trey Palmer season.
Oh yeah, are you a Trey Palmer guy?
I am.
Know that my prospect model liked him. I haven't talked about him enough, but my prospect model was pretty into Trey Palmer.
I read that. So for the folks who are tuning in to prepare for the draft or whatever, Russell Gage, I think he's done for the year. I think they established that. Trey Palmer is a rookie receiver, was really good in the preseason. JJ's model is into him, so someone to monitor. But anyway, Otten should be out there playing a lot of snaps, running a lot of routes, and hopefully we get. I kind of like the Vikings Bucks maybe to shoot out a little bit, maybe, like if the Bucks have to chase points, you're not feeling it, but
I don't think it's that crazy of an idea.
Yeah, Otten would benefit from that, I think.
Yeah. So, okay, let's move on to to defense then.
Yes.
I'll start Seattle. Okay. They get the Rams. Now, I will say if like Washington's out there, add them. They get Arizona this week. If Denver's out there, I like Denver because they get Vegas and then Washington in week 2. So those are, and they're at home, both of those games. Those are 2 weeks of plug and play. And then New Orleans is like the obvious one because they don't play a good quarterback until like week 7 or something like that. So those 3 defenses you should prioritize here. But I don't mind Seattle against the Rams because the Rams are probably going to be without Cooper Kupp. The Seahawks are at home. They're 5.5-point favorites. You hit a negative game script with Matthew Stafford. Probably going to get some turnovers and sacks. So I am into Seattle this week, especially without Cooper Kupp.
We have to look very strongly into a Matthew Stafford pick 6 prop because let me tell you, folks, that's happening. It is happening. All right. I have the Packers. Apparently I am a Packers fan because I have Musgrave. I have Jordan Love. I have the Packers defense. I know not in your league. Packers went in the 9th round in your league, but they should be out there, a fair number of waiver wires. This all comes down to Justin Fields being, pretty, while he's also good at producing fantasy points, he gives it up to defenses. Last year, Justin Fields had the 3rd highest rate of turnover-worthy plays per PFF. Fields took a league-leading 55 sacks. That is incredible. So the Packers, guys, we have our first one of the year. The Packers have what I would call a sack-based floor.
Yeah, we're not high tech enough to have drops on this show.
We need a producer.
Yeah, we do. All right, to recap, we got Green Bay, we got Seattle at defense. Oh, the other thing that we should add too at tight end, if Travis Kelce's out, Noah Gray is the play, and then keep an eye on Mark Andrews, and then Isaiah Likely would be a play. So you'll have the benefit of knowing with Travis Kelce tomorrow or on Thursday, because they're playing on Thursday. And then I would say it sounds right now today as we're recording this, things are a lot more pessimistic about Travis Kelce, I'd say, than Mark Andrews, because they were saying that Andrews was at least probably going to practice today. I don't know if he did or not, but there's at least a little bit more optimism there. But Kelce getting injured in practice, hyperextended knee, Noah Gray could be a decent option this week if he doesn't go.
I want to apologize to listener Diego Lopez, who says his mom just kicked him out of the basement for screaming sack-based floor. I'm sorry, Diego, for that happening. But by the way, Likely, I like Likely, I think more than any streamer we just talked about if Andrews is out.
Likely story. All right. At tight end, we have those 2 guys, Luke Musgrave, Greg Dulcich, Hunter Henry, and Jake Ferguson. And then at quarterback, we have Baker as the deeper play, and then Jordan Love and Sam Howell as more traditional streamers. Of course, we have some questions from Twitter. Actually, I'm going to call it X on this show. Just to
man.
We have some questions. We have some questions. People were posting on X, and they posted some questions to it.
No, posted. No one tweeted.
No one tweeted. They posted. First one's from @JustinWhiteVA. When are you guys going to start doing thumbnails for your shows where you make ridiculous faces like you just farted, but there was a little bit that touched cotton?
Oh, come on. I do love the open mouth YouTube algorithm thing. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you right. Gotta have like the very crazy look to attract. I mean, it started with like Mr. Beast, I think, right?
Yeah, Luke Musgrave and a GPP.
Yeah, exactly.
We're doing the faces for those listening.
Well, I'm doing more video work. And shout out to Rich, who's been doing some work for me. And he and I've talked about that. And I told him that I'm gonna have to have a photo shoot at some point for the videos that I'm doing, so that he can use those for like thumbnails and stuff like that, because that's how insane YouTube is with that stuff. It is.
Yeah, it really is.
Next question @boo_duh_pest. Went to get 1 medium coffee, and when I went to pay the barista, said it was paid for by when I went to pay, the barista said it was paid for by the person ahead of me. My wife said I was supposed to pay it forward. Am I a jerk for letting a kind stranger buy me a coffee and ending the pay it forward chain? It's got to end sometime, right?
It sounds like a Seinfeld episode. This is very Seinfeldian. No, you're horrible. You're a horrible person.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you should think long and hard about that decision, because karma's coming, man. Karma is coming.
Yeah. Look, we dabble in Eastern religion around here and living the stream, and karma can be a bitch. This is what they say. This is what the Eastern philosophers say. Anyway, yeah, you got to pay it forward. Come on, what's the big deal? You were going to pay for an overpriced coffee anyway.
Yeah. What was it? Was it you? You don't like Tim Robinson, right?
Okay. All right. I don't love the show. He seems like a decent dude. But every sketch on that show is him screaming. So
yeah, I don't fully disagree with your take. I'm probably more on the I think it's fine, like more fine than you would. But have you seen the one sketch that he did where it was the drive-through and he started the chain, and then he quickly, as fast as he could, drove back into the, and then he's just like, give me 50 hot dogs, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just like going nuts with like just getting an insane amount of stuff.
See, that's
like,
funny.
order. Yeah, like it's a good concept, good idea. But then he turned into his shouting character that he just inevitably turns into with every
single sketch.
Yeah, everyone. Next question at R4mates. It says, which early quarterback streamer has the best chance to be an every week starter? How love the corpse of whoever starts in Arizona?
Oh God, no.
Yeah, I think Sam Howell's probably. I mean, look, if Kenny Pickett's out there, I think that Pickett's going to be an interesting player this year too.
Yeah.
But that trio has been the trio that I sort of referenced. I think that Green Bay, Washington, and Pittsburgh could all have better offenses than what ADP has suggested all offseason. Those are my three offenses, breakout offenses, if you will.
Yeah, man. I mean, Steelers. I'm all in on the Steelers. In fact, I kind of think the Steelers are in a sneaky okay spot this week against the Niners.
Yeah. Bosa might not play too.
Yeah,
we'll see. Next question at Inquisitor Glockta. Okay. This is an unfair one. Come on, come on, people. I mean, the name of the person on here is Future Poop. just ruminating in your stomach right now.
Not current poop.
Yes, future poop. Favorite pick for widely undrafted tight end that becomes a weekly starter. Also, congrats to Denny for helping market X to the masses via Hard Knocks. I know he loves giving Elon free advertising.
Yeah, I do.
About that. Let's address that first, okay? You, Denny, were on Hard Knocks.
I was.
You were on. Look, you and your X profile are one and the same. You were on Hard Knocks.
Yeah, HBO reached out a few days before the show aired and said, "Hey, can we use this post?" And I was like, "Is this legit?" I don't know. I didn't check, so I said, "Yeah, sure." I mean, whatever. If it's not legit, what's going to happen? I don't know. So they use it, and Gigi, I do have to say that while I heard from people that I haven't talked to in 20 plus years, I also having to explain this situation to the boomers in my life, man, that was difficult. I had to start from the beginning. The NFL is the National Football League. They play football. And then you get into Aaron Rodgers. Who's Aaron Rodgers? No one knows who Aaron Rodgers is. New York Jets. Rodgers' weird politics and his weird beliefs.
Yeah.
The AirPods and what I've been called, they've since been called soy pods. This is what they're calling them now. And so all the belief about soy pods eating your brain alive. It actually took me 25 minutes to tell my in-laws about this situation, but it was cool being on Hard Knocks.
Yeah, look, I was proud of you. I immediately sent you a message and said, "This is your greatest achievement." I don't know if I went that far. No, it was amazing. It was so funny whenever I saw it. It's the most you thing of all time for your account. You've pushed away haters from following and stuff, just given the things that you tweet and the way that you handle your business on Twitter, on X. And, you have these two unbelievable tweets that will just live forever, which is the first one being what every position, writes about on social media.
Right.
And then that one that was on freaking Hard Knocks. It was a very awesome moment.
Yeah, look, it just tells the kids out there, you got to be chronically, permanently, tragically logged on, and good things can happen.
Yeah, exactly. So the other question from Future Poop is favorite pick for widely undrafted tight end that becomes weekly starter. Maybe Jake Ferguson or like a Dulcich, one of those two, if Dulcich counts for that. But I think Ferguson's rostered in even fewer leagues than Dulcich.
Yeah, Turd Ferguson makes sense. Trey McBride, can I interest you in some?
Oh, that's a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
Yeah,
he was just really bad last year.
He was, I know.
but but it's tight end, so it doesn't really matter that much. And he was a really good prospect. So
Zach Ertz is still around. So
no, I don't mind the McBride. I'm not trying to talk you down here, Denny. I think it's an okay pick.
You hate me. You hate McBride. Forget about it.
Just log out. Just leave. Next question at John Football Seat. When was the last time you were pee on the side of the road guy?
Ooh. Not on the side of the road, but in a parking garage about 5 years ago.
Yeah, in like a Gatorade bottle?
No.
Or on the ground?
On the ground.
Ooh, man.
See, the thing is, JJ, we had too many beers, and the bathroom was broken in this restaurant. It actually was just not working, and I had to go like it was like an emergency. So found my way into the parking garage, and I was not proud, and I'm still not all that proud of it. In fact, I hope my kids never see this. But yeah, that was about 5 years ago.
Yeah, I've personally never done it, so no. I'm only saying that in case my children ever listen to this. I don't know when the last time was though, but I was a like growing up, it wasn't if we're on the highway or if we're driving home from somewhere, we're not stopping my family, right? So it's like get a cup or something and just do your business there, and then we can deal with it when we get home.
That's dad mode.
Yeah, it's straight up dad mode. Yeah.
Like we're driving. I'm sorry that your bladder's hurting. You can figure that out on your own. I'm going to keep going 77 miles an hour on the highway.
That's right. And you can figure out what you're going to do with that urine that's in your body. Yeah. Next question at Mana_dork. I mostly drink iced coffee, so I make my own cold brew at home. Some mornings, however, I want it hot, and instead of making a fresh pot, I just heat up the cold brew on the stove. Is this reasonable, or should I seek psychological help?
I don't know.
I don't drink coffee anymore.
Oh,
so
right.
I'm not the person to answer this.
Right. You're a coffee hater. Yeah, I'm a coffee bro. But I would not do that. I would make some new coffee. I had people a minute ago in the comments calling me rich or something. I'm not, but I'm okay spending a little money on coffee if it tastes good. But is cold brew, I don't even know. Is cold brew different than
different? Right. Like can't you just brew coffee and just put it in the fridge and it turns cold, and then that's your cold brew, and then it's the same thing. My thing would be, I would assume that heating it up, it just does not taste very fresh at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Have you seen No Country for Old Men?
Yes.
Okay. There's just a little scene near the end of it where I don't know, one of the old guys is in a wheelchair. He has coffee in his trailer, and Tommy Lee Jones says, "Hey, is this coffee fresh?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, I made it about a week ago." I feel like this is the kind of the situation. Like, just toss it, man. Just toss it and make some more coffee. You're saving money by making your own coffee. Like, you're saving a lot of money by doing that. Feel good about that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think people were mentioning some of the money stuff. I made that comment about Ruth's Chris earlier. I want to at least amend that. I know that college students are not going to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, you guys. It was a joke. I wasn't being serious about that.
We seem so elitist right now.
I know.
Just make some coffee simply. Like, go to Ruth's Chris and have some lunch.
I mean, what is he taking chicken tenders to Ruth's Chris? Like, what is he doing there? Why is he doing that?
It's a banana, JJ. How much could it possibly be?
Yeah. Next question at ndutton13, our buddy Neil. He says, "What is one habit / quirk that you have that really, really annoys your family?" I wake up in the morning and my better half says, "I wish you wouldn't do that." Just waking up, I'm assuming.
Waking up.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. Do you have my thing is, so, okay, now that we're on live stream, I can show, I have my jug, right? This is what my late round fantasy football patrons have called Mo Alley Cox, and my Mo Alley Cox jug gets consumed daily. And my wife gets very irritated because I march around my house holding it, like from room to room if I'm moving. And it's just like, she knows where, because it has this like squeak to it, right? Because like maybe I can make the noise, but like the handle here, like that, right? Yeah. And so that noise then is throughout the house. My wife knows where, and my daughter knows exactly where I am all the time because of Mo Alley Cox.
I don't know how you do that, man. That's commitment. I will say you are committed.
Easy. It makes your life easier to just have all of your water right there and to just consume it, not have to go back to, because we have a fridge that generates water, not to go back to the fridge to get the water out. You just have it sitting there. You know how much you got to drink or try to drink, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, no, and I trust you, like to like optimize your water consumption. Mine is not optimized. I drink a bunch of these every day, and it probably costs me an arm and a leg. But again, I'm out of touch.
A few years in your life, no big deal.
I'm out of touch, so it's fine. An annoying quirk that I have. Well, I scratch my eyebrow a lot. Just when I'm like idle, like if I'm just like sitting there, I'll just like scratching my eyebrow. Someone told me it's some sort of mental disorder once, so I have that going for me.
Really?
Yeah, I forget what it's called. If someone in the comments knows what scratching your eyebrow is, let me know. But I'll do that, and I've done that since I was a teenager. And my wife will be like, "Can you leave your eyebrow alone? Just relax for a minute."
There is a trichotillomania, which is a hair pulling disorder. I don't think it would be that necessarily. Because are you like plucking your eyebrow while you're doing it, or are you just
no? It's just sort of scratching at the hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question, at number one punna. When using the AC/heat in the car, do you always crank it to max? Crank it max to each extreme, or do you ever sit in the middle? My wife always lives in the middle, no matter how hot or cold. But I go max no matter what.
Max no matter what? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't think that makes any sense at all. Like, Jason, what are you doing? Like, this doesn't make, like, going, what if it's 83 degrees outside?
Yeah.
Or 85. And you get in the car, you can't go down to 50 in the car, 55, however low your car goes. Yeah. Oh, but I also got a new car this off season. Well, what's going on? Yeah, I have a 2023 Honda CRV now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. But if I were to crank that CRV down to 55 when it's 8, no, I don't need, I just need to be at like 70 or like 68 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, when I get in the car and it's cold in the winter and the kids are like, "Oh, Dad, please turn on the heat," I have to remind them every single time that that's not how heat works. That in a car, like you have to let the car warm up a little bit. And so I'm not going to just put it all the way on hot and crank it, because guess what? It's going to be ice cold air, and I don't want that in my face. So I actually will leave it off until the car is warmed up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, going to the extreme doesn't make any sense here. I think that you're wrong, and your wife gets the W.
Oh yeah.
Next question, at Ryan Seal 13. When looking at a clock, do you think that you've seen every possible time combination? If so, which do you feel you've seen most?
That's a good question. Only our listeners would come up with that. Yes, definitely. We've seen every combination.
Do you think? I don't think we have.
No, really?
I don't. Well, okay. To be fair, we're only thinking the 12-hour clock more than likely, right? Yeah. We're not because we're seeing these things twice. I will say there's one time that I always see. I see it every day almost.
Okay. What is it?
It's for some reason. Not to get political, it's 5:38. I see it when it's 5:38. You can almost guarantee that I'm looking at a clock.
Right. And by the way, we're gonna have Nate Silver on next week.
This is just a big promo for Nate Silver next week.
Oh, actually, I don't even think he works for them anymore. Oh well.
Yeah, whatever. But
nevertheless,
I don't know. I like that has to be. I mean, how many? What is it? 60 times 12, whatever that is, right? And that's a lot of numbers to go through, because not only that, early on in life, you're not looking at clocks. You don't care about a clock when you're 9.
I don't care about time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then you probably only care about clocks until you get to like college. Like high school, you're like staring at the clock, right?
Yeah.
You're ready for that thing to.
That's what I mean.
To change.
I used
Maybe
to
that's
stare
true.
at it. Yeah.
Because there are times in life and situations in life where you're just staring at the clock.
Right. By the way, it comes out to 720 combination.
Yeah, I could have done that mental math in my head. 12 times 6, right?
I definitely didn't have to take my calculator out.
But yeah, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe we have. This isn't like the deck of cards thing where there's never been the same combination twice. You know that thing, that math trick?
I do.
Where it's 52 factorial, which is just never gonna happen, right? You're not gonna see the same thing.
My kid has familiarized me with that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he's probably very into that fact.
Yeah.
This isn't the same thing. I do, 720 is not that many now that I'm thinking about it more. I think you're right, Denny. I think we've seen every combination. Right now is 420. Have you ever seen 420 before?
Never in my life.
Never.
No. It is.
That's a good question though. What have you? Is there a time that you see the most?
No, I'd be just making it up. No, there's nothing comes to mind.
It's definitely 5:38 for me. So if you guys, I'm telling you, if you see 5:38 on the clock, you can almost guarantee that I'm seeing it too. Next question at Adam M. Wilhelm. It says, who created the sweet new LTS logo? I did, actually. I created the new logo. The caricatures, though, which is probably what you're referencing here, was another another great Fiverr purchase.
Yeah.
Which is taking over this podcast branding is Fiverr. To be honest.
I love it. I love the little cartoon us people.
Yeah, the cartoon us's. Mm-hmm. Next question at Steak Knife Ob. It's at Steak Knife OBV. Like, obviously it's a steak knife. Clearly. Obviously a steak knife. Why does it feel like every kid says bet all the time now? Oh. I honestly don't even know what it means. I feel like a giant boomer even asking this question, but I'm still only in my mid-30s. I have to imagine this also tilts Denny.
Oh man, I make so many bet jokes because my kid's 10, his cousin is 10, his other cousin's 12. They're all boys. They all go around. They'll be like, my son will be like, hey dad, can you take us to 7-Eleven? I'll be like, yeah, sure. And be like, bet. I'm like, bet. Does that mean good? Are you happy? I have no idea. So yeah, I mean, I have felt like a massive boomer with bet.
Yeah, and the thing that's crazy is I'm at the age, and you're at the age too. I mean, by the way, happy belated. I mean, I said happy birthday when it was your birthday, but you're 40 now, Denny.
I am 40. I started the show when I was 30. Yeah, 29.
Yeah, it's wild. But we're at the age where there could be someone in their mid 20s, and I'm like, yeah, they probably look the same age as me. Like, like I have these feelings of like, because I can't tell the age of like 25 to 35 anymore. I have no idea what age people are. It's similar, like when you get like a 3 to 5 year old, like they're all the same, right? Uh-huh. And so there are people who I will have conversations with thinking that they're, millennials. I'm a younger millennial, or I'm like a mid-sized millennial. Yeah. Middle of the road millennial. Uh-huh. I'm not an elder millennial, but I'm a middle of the road millennial, smack dab in the middle. 80s baby, 90s raised me kid. And so I go and I approach these conversations with people who I think, might be like maybe a younger millennial, but still, in that grouping. And then they use phrases like bet all the time. Like they'll say it under their breath, right? It'll just be like I'll be telling them something like, yeah, then we'll go to Starbucks and then we'll whatever. I'm like making plans with them or something like that. Bet. It's like, what?
It's like a tick. It's like a verbal tick. And you're like, did you say something? Did you say bet? Is that right? Is that okay? Another thing is on God. Have you?
Oh yeah, on God is But
like my son will be like, he'll be like, say on God, say on God. I'm like, on God?
Is that like pinky swear?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you just would say, like, I mean, why can't you just trust someone? Why do they got to say on God?
Yeah, I'll be like, yeah, we can go to the water slides next Saturday, and he'll be like, say on God. I'm like, on God. Does that make you feel better? I don't.
Do you get upset when he says these things?
No, he's just trying to be
What's
cool.
your reaction? Is it do you give in and say on God, or do you sit back and say, no, I'm not going to say that?
I know I actually do say it. I'm trying to be cool. I'm trying to be cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Can I tell you something real quick about my hair real quick? I went into 7-Eleven. Because I mentioned 7-Eleven, I just got on this train of thought. And I went there with my kids the other day, and my hair was like this. And Eleanor, my daughter, comes up to me. She goes, "Daddy, Daddy." And the cashier at 7-Eleven goes, she looks at me and she goes, "Daddy?" And I was like, "Yes." I don't what are you asking me? Are you telling me? And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Oh, you look way too young to be a dad."
Wow.
And I was like, "Hell yes. Hell yes, lady. Thank you so much." I was I'm 40.
Yeah. I was gonna say, are we at the age where, because at the Fantasy Football Expo, I ran into this at times where people say like, how old are you or whatever, just in conversation. It wasn't like the first thing that popped up in conversation. It was just, I was talking to people and I would tell them, or I would say, how old do you think or whatever, in like a fun little way. And like, I was talking to Nate Liss, for instance, shout out Nate Liss.
Yeah.
And Nate thought that I was older than him, and he's your age.
Oh,
and he thought I was 42. And then I talked to someone else who thought that I was 26. I'm everywhere. I've gotten both ranges now. I'm 35. I'm like right smack dab in the middle of those two.
I mean, yeah, I can't tell you how happy I was. I mean, and the thing is, like, I have like a lot of gray facial hair. You can't really see it, but I do have a lot of gray facial hair. I have like some gray coming in on the sides of my hair.
Yeah.
And so for her to say that, I was like, I look too young to be a dad. So what? You're saying that I look like 19? Is that what you're saying? Are you going to card me? Are you about to card me? Because I haven't been carded since Obama. Sorry to get political.
Maybe your daughter just looked really old to her.
Yeah, maybe she thought my daughter was 18 or something. I mean, she's 7. She's 7.
That'd be a little weird, a little messed up. Next question is from @Diego24 FPS. Diego says, "You've been hired as a mediator between Jonathan Taylor and Jim Irsay. What's your strategy?"
To get Jonathan Taylor off the Irsay bus. That's the first time. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, pay him fairly, but then Irsay would be like, absolutely not. We're not going to do that.
Do you think Taylor's hurt?
I think I would guess he could play, but he clearly has something
hurt
wrong.
But could play.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same boat, and I had this streak of in my fantasy drafts where there was only a 3-day period where I decided I was going to draft Jonathan Taylor. Like that I was because I was buying into this. Because if he went to Miami, he would have been drafted probably before Nick Chubb. Right?
Yeah.
Like he would have been a first round pick. And so I'm like, you know what? These are fun leagues, couple free rolls. I'm just going to go after it with Jonathan Taylor. One of them, he fell to like the 5th round and I just grabbed him.
Oh, wow.
This is now he gets drafted in like the 6th and 7th or whatever. But now I have some Jonathan Taylor because of this, even though earlier in the offseason and all offseason, I'm like, rookie mobile quarterback, no thanks. And then now I'm part of this.
This is what I'm saying. Oh, okay. Yeah. I meant to ask you this. All right. Does Jonathan Taylor not being in the Colts lineup affect Anthony Richardson?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it
does.
I think it's a total wash. No, I'm with you.
I don't think it matters. I think if anything, we're going to see more of a reliance maybe on his legs at the goal line and stuff on Anthony Richardson. So
I think it's good. I think it's actually good for Richardson.
Yeah, it could be. All right, Denny, that's the last question.
All right.
For week 1 of Living the Stream. We're back, baby. Why don't you let everyone know where they can find it?
So I'm going to have a Wednesday column on Roto World. If you'd like to check it out, it's based on regression, which is a word we love to use. It makes us feel very smart as fantasy analysts. So check that out on Wednesdays. I will tweet it out. I will X it out. I don't know. Post it. I'll post it.
Yeah.
And then you can follow me on Elon's site at CDCarter13. I'm also at CDCarter13 on Instagram and Zuckerberg's site. What's it called? Threads. So I'm there too.
I stopped Threads. I was into Threads and then I just stopped it. But I am on Instagram also now at Late Round FF. There's a fantasy football for Late Round Fantasy Football Instagram where I'm posting daily and I have random graphics that I've made. We have some video and stuff like that. Good. It's fun. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at LateRoundQB. All my stuff over on LateRound.com. I can't really promote the draft guide anymore because draft season's kind of over, or it's getting to be over. But if you have a draft over the next couple of days, check that out. Otherwise, it's great to be back, Denny. Great to see your pretty face. We will catch you guys next week.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Living the Stream. We hope you enjoyed the internet podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes now. It won't take long, it's fast. For more fantasy football info, check out
LateRound.com and NBC Sports Edge.
Hope you come back soon as we share